Hello everyone, it's Jeanette Campinger here from Henry Stewart Events, and I'm delighted to welcome you to our latest webinar, DAM Theory Meets Retail Reality. We're pleased to have nearly 200 DAM professionals registered today. Just a couple of housekeeping points before we get started. We'll take some questions at the end of the session, so please send them through on your GoToWebinar panel at any time during the presentation. And this webinar is being recorded. So please, and we'll look out for your email that we send tomorrow with a link to the recording. So now I'd like to hand you over to Perry Solomon from WoodWing. Thanks, Perry. Over to you.
Terrific. Thank you so much. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our audience. Thank you so much for dedicating time to hear our webinar today. I'm pleased to be joined by Sandra Sundbäck, who's Development Manager and PO from S Group.
Hi,
and
hello.
Today we're going to talk. Hi, how are you? Today we're going to talk about DAM theory meets retail reality. We've got a great agenda for you today, we believe. We'll begin with a quick introduction to WoodWing, and then Sandra will talk you through an introduction to S Group, and then her background in the digital asset management space, how they built the business case at S Group, and importantly, the people factor, how to build consensus and advance adoption of a DAM across our organization. And then we'll leave you with some key takeaways and give you plenty of time for questions and answers. For those of you who are new to WoodWing, we'll share some facts and figures just to sort of help set the stage. WoodWing's been around for about 20 years, since the year 2000. Today, we operate with about 140 employees in over 100 countries around the world, helping tens of thousands of users across thousands of customers create content and be efficient in how they are delivering content to their end users. At the heart of what we do is our content orchestration platform, and that sits at the heart of the storytelling process. It allows brands and publishers to take a content-first approach, overcoming challenges around improving speed to market, workflow, and publishing to different channels. And content orchestration is delivered through three solutions: our digital asset management solution that we'll talk about in more detail today, a multi-channel content creation solution, and digital content production services. Our digital asset management solution, WoodWing Assets, allows you to centrally manage your digital assets across the entire content lifecycle. It gives you maximum control over when and where your assets are being used. WoodWing Studio, our multi-channel content creation solution, allows you to create amazing content in the most efficient way. It allows you to take a content-first approach to produce content and to distribute it across any distribution channel. And over the years, we've learned that customers who work with WoodWing realize three main benefits. The first is the ability to accelerate your creative process through channel neutral storytelling, fast and easy file management, and integration with the creative tools that you use on a daily basis. It allows you to streamline your workflows, editing, being able to manage metadata more efficiently, manage versions, and to be able to publish clearly and efficiently. And lastly, and importantly, particularly in our modern work environment, is the ability to share stories with the world from anywhere, being able to publish to multiple channels, to showcase your work in lots of different ways, like brand portals and mobile applications, and importantly, to have access with a single sign-on anywhere around the world. And with that, I'm pleased to introduce Sandra and allow her to share her experiences with the S Group.
Okay, hi everybody. Good evening, I should say, from a dark and very gloomy Finland. I'll talk you through the S Group because since probably everybody is not from Finland, you might not have heard of us before, but the S Group is basically a customer-owned Finnish network of companies, and we're a cooperation. So we have business in different areas of retail and service sector, and we have roughly 1,800 outlets in Finland. So we work in supermarket trade and the department store trade and the service station trade. So you get gas from our service stations, and we have travel and hospitality business as well, and also hardware trade. We have membership loyalty program, which is we call the bonus program, and it covers about roughly 2.4 million co-op members in Finland, and we could say we have a strong presence in all the Finnish households here. Let me just switch the slide here. Go to next one. Perry, can you help me there? Here. Yes. So our mission as a co-op is to make a better place to live in Finland. So this basically goes back to the loyalty program of our company. We create a lot of services which aim to make our customers' lives easier each day and help them to make better decisions in their everyday lives. I think I already told about the different sectors we work in or we have businesses in, but I would say probably the largest sector is our grocery trade sector or trade, and then department store trade as well. We have a network of cooperatives in Finland. So there are these local cooperatives which employ roughly 32,000 people in Finland, all of Finland. And then I myself work in the central organization, which is the SOK, so Suomen Osuuskauppojen Keskuskunta, and it's SOK also has some subsidiaries there. We're basically the central cooperative, and we provide the local cooperatives with our centralized expert support and services, and we also maintain the strategic steering of the whole group and all the development that goes into the group. So here's me. My name is Sandra Sundbäck. I have a 10-year plus background in marketing, so that's where I basically started way back when when I started in the S Group. I have a bachelor's degree in digital media, and I supplemented that with a master's degree in 2015 in media management. And since I had a very keen interest in digital asset management, I wanted to focus my master's degree, the thesis, on the DAM technology and the market there. So that's where the theory part of my DAM knowledge comes from. I've been involved in DAM since 2013, which was when I was working at SOK in my first round of SOK career. I was an end user or super user in the DAM implementation back then, and then I've done one additional DAM implementation at another company, Finnish retailing company, back in 2016, 17. And now I'm back at the SOK, and I'm happy to manage the DAM that we have today. So that's where my focus lies, on the asset management and the delivering of the assets in this group. Oop. Perry, are you handling the slides?
No, I'll go back. I'm sorry.
Sure.
There you go.
So, as I stated, I wrote a thesis about DAM back in 2015. The thesis was finished, and what motivated me to write it was actually my work in marketing and noticing that the content production paces were really getting faster and faster, and the pressure to achieve better time to market in marketing operations was getting super fast, and you needed to be work efficient and work smartly with the assets you were working. And also, I've always been some sort of a tech nerd, I would probably say. So I was really curious about DAM the first time I was able to start using one back in 2013, and I really I saw the potential it had to bring or had to give in the marketing processes back then, not to understate the potential it gives now, since we're digitizing more and more and more. And basically the thesis was a gateway for me to get my business case and analysis going on at the company I was working back then, so that I could prove my hypothesis about how streamlining the processes and DAM would be able to enable a faster and more consistent time to market, so that I would be able to get some funding and support for the investment. So yeah, we had a lot of people in a company with the scale of largest retailing companies in Finland. There inevitably are a lot of people you need to participate in the investment and in the operation and in the implementation. So starting from the management levels and starting from the directors, you need to find sponsors and have them participate in your endeavor. And of course, can't understate the need to have champions and find the right people to support your project and implementation, and of course having the implementation team in place. And the key findings, I think, from the thesis that I made was that really implementing any DAM in any organization, it has to start with the organization's needs. Why do we need to have a DAM? At the time I wrote the thesis, it was one thing, but today it could actually be something else. So always be on top of why. Doing a lot of research for the thesis, I found that if key findings were to be put in some sort of order, I think the biggest problem could be silos in an organization, and they might be organizational and they might be technical, and you need to find the silos and find a way to how you can have your DAM help there. And on the topic on how insights could be, should be, or were brought back into the organization is the thing I got away from making this extensive thesis was that it helped me form a vision. I knew what the directors and the leaders wanted, what the strategic needs were that need to be fixed, and what we could achieve with the help of them. So now that I had a vision, it helped me to lead more concrete and actionable plans on what the business use cases were we needed to solve, and even more importantly, how can we solve them with the help of DAM or the whole DAM ecosystem or environment. And since you are able to support the business units and the business needs, you will be able to have the DAM become more of a strategic part of the business's processes rather than just another tool that needs to be implemented. So that's kind of a loop where the insights give you concrete tools to move forward with your DAM. Maybe we can go to the next slide, unless there are some questions on this topic here.
And Sandra, that's a great reminder. I apologize for not mentioning up front. There is a questions panel for those who would like to ask questions. We'll make sure to leave plenty of time towards the end. But we'll want to try to make this somewhat interactive through the webinar. So if there's any questions that you want to get to right now, feel free to go ahead and do that, and we'll get to them as we're going through the presentation. And Sandra, I know you have obviously had that theoretical background with the thesis, and you've been able to put all of that to great work at S Group. Would love to, we've seen some visuals here. Could you share a bit more about kind of how that's being used now today?
Sure, yes. So the dam at the S Group is actually quite a large one. We have some 2 million assets at the moment. We have roughly 1,500 users, and we have many different integrations going on around the dam. But where it all started back in 2013, when we started implementing it, were actually marketing processes. We wanted to have a possibility to streamline the operations using and reusing of our assets and plugging in the Adobe tools, which we are heavily using in our marketing content creation. So these assets here are mainly print, which is what we started out with. There are also a couple on the laptop, a couple mobile coupons or ads going on there, but the biggest use case for us back then was actually to make the marketing processes more streamlined, to have all of our different businesses assets in one place and have a possibility to share and use and reuse all of the assets in a coherent way from our dam. But if you take the next slide, this is actually where we are heading more now. So we are shifting our focus, if that's the right term to use. We're shifting our focus more to the digital more and more as we speak. So what we have done for the last year actually has been a lot of extensive work on the product the assets, so product imagery, so that we could deliver those to all of our e-com platforms or any digital platforms that we provide. These are the biggest users of our dam at the moment. So basically over one night, our biggest users changed from the marketing operatives to e-commerces. So now we share we centralize all of our assets, product assets as well to the dam and deliver all of these e-commerce assets from the dam to the e-com. So basically taking a step towards more technical and more digital processes there. I think we can go to the next slide because that probably gives a little bit more in-depth insight on how it looks like now. It's a little bit simplified, of course, but for communicational purposes. But this is how our environment looks like at the moment. So I always put dam in the middle because I think that's where it belongs. It's the central repository of digital assets, and we are lucky to have a PIM system in our company, which is product information management, and we are even more so happy to be able to use the product data, which is enriched in the PIM system. So if we take it from the left-hand side, we have the box with the product images. So we have many integrations going on from different suppliers. There's the GS1, which is actually an international organization, but there's the Finnish GS1 Finland part, which we are integrated to, and that's where we get a lot of our product suppliers assets actually from. So critical integration there. And then we have a couple other ones from other image or product suppliers. And then there is one custom portal as well, which we are building in my team or have built in my team, which is supporting the manual uploading of digital assets or product related digital assets. So they all comply the same sort of data model, and all of the digital assets from all of these different channels have to have the same metadata in order to be managed and shared in our dam. On the top, there are the marketing and the creative departments. Their integrations at the moment basically are Adobe InDesign and Photoshop, which are integrated to the dam, so they can use their assets in being connected to the dam, so they don't have to download and upload and download and upload all the time. So they are online, so to speak, with their designs and all the assets they need to use there. We also have a few CMSs going on in the whole group, which we have integrated in the dam, so you can fetch imagery from the dam to your content in the CMS. Then we have this CDN, which we built on top of the dam. So that's basically all the e-commerces and the mobile apps and digital platforms which use our assets. They are not connected straight to the dam because we don't want to put that sort of load on the dam. So we have the CDN, content delivery network, in between. So we basically push the assets up there, and then the platforms can request for any assets from the CDN. And we also actually now just recently started pushing our product images to the PIM system. So more and more centralizing going on here at the moment. Any comments on this one? Questions?
Yeah, Sandra, that's great. I know we want to get into also some of the people issues around how you've managed this, but we got a great question that came in that relates to this that I thought I would introduce. Actually, two of them that I'll get to. One was a question about tagging and about metadata. So could you talk a bit more about any kinds of metadata enhancement that you're doing as things are coming into the dam?
Yes. Well, in the integrations, as I mentioned, we of course automate a lot of data from the sources where we get our assets from. So as much as we can get from there, we will use. For instance, GS1 has, I quite actually like it, a model of telling what we call it additional classifications. So as it's a set list of additional classifications for the product. What does the product look like in the image? Is it in a package? Is it on a model? And information like that. So that we use straight from the integrations, which makes our lives so much easier. But in addition to that, the product data enriches our assets quite a lot in DAM. So we get product sizes, colors, marketing text, all sorts of additional information regarding any specific products from the PIM system. So basically the product assets in themselves don't need too much manual tagging or manual metadata. Of course, in the custom portal, which is a manual process, the uploader needs to check that the data is right. So we do a lot of automation there and try to help the users as much as possible, so they don't have to click through every asset, but at the minimum they need to check that the data is right. We don't use specific taggings, especially on the product data, but in the marketing assets there are more the tagging thing is more in use. We don't use any auto tagging at the moment, but that's something we are of course looking into at some point. But the auto tagging thing and AI tagging is a little bit tricky sometimes because we work in a Finnish environment and the engines are mainly in English, and then there are some translation difficulties, and not to talk about the fact that it's not always following like a vocabulary. The auto tagging might be varying quite a lot, so we haven't yet set that up, but it's something people keep asking us, and we might be setting up at some point. Yes.
Yeah, that's terrific. Two related questions that came in together, and I'll sort of group them together around what do you keep in the dam, and I guess a little bit of the process of deciding what would go into the dam versus things that perhaps would not.
That's a good question. Something I get asked every now and then, that hey, could we put this PowerPoint or Excel sheet or any other document in DAM? Basically our focus is in the marketing and retail or commerce business assets, anything that goes out to the end customer. That's how I've aligned it. I do see some marketing briefs sometimes uploaded there. I don't think it's too bad, but I try to shift focus to maybe use SharePoint if they want to have some project management timetables or Excel sheets or what have you in the DAM. So we are trying to focus our assets, managing the assets that our end customer at some point will see in some channel.
And maybe related to that, which begins to get into some of the people and the communications. How do you communicate out to people kind of what it's there today, what assets go in there today, and then plans for things that this might include in the future?
Well, we have a lot of users. We have I would say 3 different types of users. There are the marketing and the creative types, and there's your basic DAM users who might use and reuse assets, and then there's basic users who only just want to find a specific asset for a specific reason. So we have different internal groups where I usually keep people informed, and we have mailing lists where I then can more target what message I want to send to what sort of users. And I would say now that we are shifting more into a broader aspect of DAM than what we have been before, there is going to be a lot of change management going in there as well, from my point of view, that need to keep our users up to speed what's going on with the environment, why it's a little bit different than it was maybe a couple years ago.
Terrific, and I know we're going to continue to get more of these great questions as we go through, but I did want to get a chance to let you get to some of the lessons around sort of building the business case as well as some of the people aspects. So I'm going to move us ahead if you don't mind, and then we'll jump into some of the topics around the business case.
Yes.
And I know that as part of that research, as part of your thesis, was this notion of this 4-box model of how to think about DAM strategically in the organization. And I wonder if you could share how you've used that in your work with the S Group.
Yes. I guess anyone who is looking into implementing some sort of technology or tool in their organization, they find this triangle with people, technology, and processes. And it's a really good starting point, because those are the 3 areas you need to think about when you are implementing. So who are you implementing for? What are you implementing, and what does it need to enable the technology? But I want to add the insight part there, because you need to know what you're getting into when you start implementing a DAM. It's a very complex tool which enables and empowers a lot of things. So you need to know the complexity of the concept you're getting into. So because if you can't really sell the concept unless you know the concept. So that's why I want to have the insight square or box there as well. So in your insight section, I would call it maybe, it entails a lot of reading, a lot of understanding and investigation, I would say. You need to know what the DAM system is and what it does and what it doesn't do, what it's supposed to do, what it's not supposed to do. Sometimes there are a little bit conflicting ideas of what a DAM does and what it doesn't do. What's a digital asset? That's a good starting point. What's an asset, and what's an asset, digital asset to you specifically? So I work a lot with product imagery, marketing materials, but for someone else it could be something else. Something to know a lot about is life cycle. How is that managed? That's important. And of course the metadata, we can't get anywhere without the metadata, and a taxonomy. So how is a taxonomy built and what is it all about? So that's the concept part. You need to know the key concepts of digital asset management, but as well you need to know about the business case. So that's often something, if you start from scratch, you need to start from scratch, and you need to collect the numbers and the facts. So you might want to know who will be your users. Do you have some legacy systems you can cover with the new DAM? What are the amounts of assets? How much time is spent in the searching of the assets in the current state? And or processing, and what are the current costs in case you already have a dam or something similar in place. What's the ROI and payback time, and the specific use cases for that dam. And then also understanding what actually drives the decision maker. So put your decision maker hat on your head and try to think about what the decision makers want to have, or want to know, or want to understand better, so that they can support your implementation. So what are the pain points that they want to have solved with the dam? What might be the strategic values, which could be supported by investing in a dam system, and simply put, why should they invest a lot of money in a dam implementation? So it might be something with inefficiency in content production, or the delivery, or time to market, or digitization, customer experience. Find the pain points you're solving, and then build your business case and your story from there.
Right, and I certainly imagine that a key aspect of that in understanding that is engaging people in this process with you, and beginning to understand kind of who are going to be the early adopters, who can then be champions to sort of promulgate throughout this organization. Could you talk a little bit more about finding those champions, finding those people who are going to be your advocates in getting adoption?
Yeah. So how I started breaking it down was I started from the top. I had it a little bit easier because I was able to use my thesis as a guide there. So, let me interview you for my thesis. But in order to find what we are solving with the dam, I needed to go up to management level to understand what their objectives are. And then when I found that and found the key issues which we would be solving with the dam, I would then be able to find the right organizations, the right teams, and then the right people to start working with, or starting to lobbying my dam project too. So it withholds a lot of disembarkation, I guess is the word in the organization. So a lot of disturbing other people in their peaceful working days with a lot of questions, and trying to find some common pain points, and finding the people who actually might get a little bit interested, and hey, actually doesn't sound so stupid, let's do something about it. And then you go on from there, and find the people who are interested and have their own interest in the matter as well.
Yeah, and I'm gonna push us ahead on the slides just because I know you want to talk to some of these points. But I was curious. It came in, one of the questions is, your organization is a multi-line of business and spread out geographically across a large area. How do you gain that kind of consensus and common strategic objectives given the breadth of the organization, and given the fact that you have different lines of business that might want different things?
That's a really good question. I took it one trade at a time. So because all the businesses might have a little bit, as you said, they might have a little bit different needs or different objectives. So we actually started separately discussing with different trades at first, and then we created this steering group, which then brought all of the managers from the specific trades around the same table, so that we could discuss what's the common things that we need to solve here. And of course, some trade specific things still needed to be solved, but overall we found out that basically everybody suffered from the same pain points. So in a big picture, that helped us a lot to first discuss with all different stakeholders and businesses, and then find the champions or sponsors from there, and then bring them around the same table, and then start negotiating that what will our dam be focusing on, and going on from there. That was
and I think that's super. I mean, I think related to that too is that those needs will evolve over time. And one of the questions that came in is sort of how do you decide how to prioritize those modifications, and how far ahead are you planning in terms of what might come next?
At the moment we are actually using the scaled agile framework for enterprise, which is short and SAFe. So it's a development model, and how we develop our services, and one of the services being DAM. So we always plan one increment or a quarter ahead, and usually we have the business stakeholders. There are named stakeholders at this point from each business, and I have some sort of ideas which I have come to see during the last increment, that okay, these are things we should focus on in the next increment and start fixing these. And then in the planning sessions we start prioritizing with all of the business stakeholders the work that needs to be done. But quite a lot, I have to be honest. Asset management is not the easiest thing for someone or people who aren't really involved in digital asset management. So sometimes it might get a little bit lonely and everybody's nodding their head and they're like, oh yeah, it sounds fine, just go ahead. But that goes back to communication and evangelizing that people understand the decisions that are made in order to have a successful development period going on.
Have you found that perhaps people who were initially skeptical or perhaps even hostile to the idea of rolling out a DAM have now become more receptive to it, and perhaps even your biggest fans?
Oh, for sure, yes. Yeah. Usually it comes down to if people have a hard time visualizing or understanding, because you invest a lot of money and time in implementing a DAM. So sometimes it's difficult to understand. So what's so difficult about managing a few product images? Well, actually, it's quite complicated. So, so when they see the results in action, they see how time to market gets faster, they see how we can classify our assets in a more streamlined way, and we can identify our assets in a better way. Usually that's the way where opinions start to shift then to a more positive. And then suddenly you start hearing people talking about this DAM as the great thing and tool which they love to use. So yeah, for sure. I mean it's probably a change process in all of people who get involved in the implementation, and that's both management level and operatives who then will be working with the DAM. So sounds complicated, especially when you start talking about metadata. People get scared first, but then when they see the power of the metadata, they usually understand and accept, and then they start advocating.
Right, yeah. And I think a big part of that as well is making sure that you you put enough time into the project to allow people to give feedback and to be able to share how they would envision using the DAM and how it would be part of their daily workflow and daily lives. In fact, one of the questions that somebody asked was a specific one, but maybe as an example of kind of how you could go through that process was, whether you keep a folder structure or whether you've sort of moved it more towards the search model where people perhaps don't see the hierarchy and the structure in the data, but they just expect to get results. And could you talk a little bit how you make a user experience decision like that?
At the moment, the DAM that I'm managing now is quite heavily actually based still on folder structures. There is, of course, the metadata model and a lot of metadata going on there, but because we have very complex visibility restrictions because of the way our company is set up. So the cooperatives can't really see each other's marketing collaterals, for instance, because Finnish law states that they are competing with each other. So we need to have strict ways of making sure that they can see each other's assets. Of course, they can see what we centralized create in marketing and the product images and stuff like that, but they can't really see each other's specific assets. So that's mainly the reason why we use a folder structure to make sure that we can restrict the visibilities of the cooperatives from each other. But otherwise, we rely quite a lot on metadata, and actually, I'm looking forward to kind of take the metadata model to the next level, hopefully in the near future. So making it even better than it is now, because I believe in the power of metadata, if it's not clear by this point.
Exactly. One of the questions that came in that had to do a bit with sort of costing for this, and I don't want to get into specifics because obviously it's proprietary, but could you talk a little bit about sort of how going into this, sort of how you assessed cost, investment, obviously both of technology to support this, but also resources to help build it, resources to use it, to train. Can you talk a little bit about kind of how you thought about the financial aspect of this decision?
Yeah, sure. Well, I guess it goes back to calculating the business case. So you need to find the benefits. What are the benefits? Is it enabling more efficient processes? So how much time are we, or are ad agencies, for instance, at the moment using for working with our assets? How can we make it faster? Should we create some workflows? Should we make the data model better so they can find the assets? Should we actually maybe implement an Adobe plugin so that we can help them streamline their work there? So RFIs are very good sources of information here, or RFPs as well, of course, because then you get to understand what scale you're talking about for the type of dam that you need, and then building a bridge back to the specific needs and the processes which you are trying to solve. You can start calculating out that how much will you be needing to invest, and how much what's the payback time? I guess that's something that decision makers want to know. So how many years do we need to have this dam rolling until we have found the efficiency that we are looking for? So what are the success criteria specifically for your organization? I guess that's what the business case needs to answer as well.
Yeah, no, that's good. And actually, one of the questions that came in, I think, is related to this, which is this challenge where sometimes, because digital asset management may not be so well understood universally, that you have very high expectations, but perhaps not the resources to support all that the dam can be. Are there any things that you've seen maybe in the industry that allow for education of the importance of a dam and the sort of central role that dams can play in the organization, that could be amplified so people have a clearer idea of what a dam can offer?
Well, I took the long road, but so I did quite an extensive research on the subject. But I guess reading books. I have one book which I hold very dear is Teresa Regley's Digital and Marketing Asset Management. It's very I mean, you can't really oversimplify as digital asset management, but maybe stating and communicating what the dam does, what it doesn't do, what it's supposed to do, and what it's not supposed to do. There's something actually called the 10 core characteristics, is it the word, of a dam? So that's like 10 points of what a dam is expected to do, and what it's not expected to do. So that's actually a good starting point where you can start kind of gathering your communication story about the dam, I guess.
Yeah, no, thank you. And so, yeah, no, and I know that Teresa is obviously a big part of Henry Stewart and the work that it does to promote and build visibility and digital asset management. And so obviously, it's great that that's been meaningful to you and helpful to you as you built the DAM business case in your organization and rolled that out more broadly. I know we have one more kind of wrap-up slide, which we'll get to in a moment, but I did just want to encourage anyone as we get close to the bottom of the hour, if there's any more questions that you have, please go ahead and drop them in the Q&A. We're trying to address them all in the flow, and if we don't get to something here, we'll do our best to follow up and make sure you get the information that you've asked in the Q&A. But I could encourage everyone who does have a question to please go ahead and enter that in now, so we can make sure that we've captured them all before we finish. And I think with that in mind, if you'll allow me, Sandra, I'm just going to jump ahead to sort of our wrap-up slide, because I know that there are some things you want to make sure that everyone comes away with from today's discussion.
Yeah. Well, maybe first and foremost, if and when you start implementing a DAM, or whether you have a DAM in place already, one thing which is really good to remind decision makers is the fact that DAM is really not a project. You will hear this in all the DAM seminars and webinars, I guess, as well. The DAM's really not about a project. The implementing a DAM is a project, but then it needs to be made a part of the company's strategy. So what are the pain points and values which we can help with the DAM? And the metadata, I talked about the metadata. That's going to make or break your DAM. So make sure it's good, and make sure don't overuse metadata, because I mean, for instance, in product data, you might have so much data available to you, but maybe take a step back and wonder about the fact that what's the data that specifically interests the DAM users. So how would they search for the product assets, and what additional data might they want to know about the products in their workflows? You can't really understate the fact that of course, it's implementing a DAM is a very technical project, but you will also make and break your DAM with the people you involve in it. So having the right project team set up really helps with the implementation, but then it all comes down to the end users as well. So you have to engage your end users and make some sort of ownership mindset, great ownership mindset with the end users. And that from my point of view, the champion program helps a lot there, because when you engage the champions and they feel ownership, they might just go and evangelize in their own businesses or own teams about the benefits of the DAM. So that goes back to the teaching and evangelizing and repeating again. So any forum, anywhere, any place, any chance you have to talk about the DAM and asset management is something to take and use, because as we talked, it's a complex concept, and the more people know and understand what a DAM does and doesn't do, the easier it's going to be for you to continue development and implementation. And the fifth point I want to distress is never be afraid to ask for help, be it if you're implementing a new one or maintaining and developing an existing one. It's a huge task to implement a DAM, so you can't really do it yourself. You will need the help of IT, architects, project management. I'm not such a great project manager that I would be able to manage all of the project management tasks myself. So project managers are super resource, and also sourcing, legal, and the champions. So anyone who can help you spread the word, spread the wisdom, and help you with the project itself. It's not to forget the sponsors. The sponsors are really important. So the management and the directors in the company, it's important to have them on board as well, because they're the ones who decide how to use budget in the company. And then lastly, but not leastly, like in any implementation or big project, it's smart to break it down into small pieces, so you can't implement the dam at once. There are different parts of a dam implementation that you need to eat up before you can eat up the whole meal, so to say.
Terrific. That's you know, I think hopefully everybody will take a screenshot of these 6 key points and think about these things as they either continue their dam project, or if they are embarking on that at the beginning, that these can be important lessons to guide them going forward. Certainly a lot to think about, both on the business side, the technical side, the workflow side, and ensuring that they can drive as much success as possible in not their program, but in their strategy. I think you did a great job of highlighting how this really has to be strategitic across the board. I know we have a few minutes left, and we had a couple of specific questions, so I think we're going to go kind of from high level sort of strategy to maybe some specific things as we wrap up. And again, for those who we didn't get a chance to get to your questions, we'll do our best to follow up to give you the specific answer to the specific question. But I'll throw a couple out at you, Sandra, if you don't mind, before we wrap up.
Sure.
One was about sort of measurement and metrics, and particularly around kind of how you might be able to use statistics or measurement to engage people.
Oh yeah, that's a good question, which I didn't actually talk about at all. Yes. Analytics is a dam manager's best friend. If you have a dam where you can see how your users are using it, how much are they logging in, what are they searching for, can they find what they are searching for, all sorts of insights there, is a really good thing to start building your KPIs, because when you're implementing, you could have KPIs on asset reuse, for instance, or something like that, or how many returns or searches you get, but maybe following first for a period of time how your users are using it, what are the bottlenecks, I guess is the word, so that you can start building your specific KPIs for for some organizations, downloads or previews might be something of interest, but in my specific organization, it's actually somewhere else. It's not, downloads aren't relevant to us, because we live in an organization which or our dam is quite online with the users all the time, so they don't download the assets specifically, because they use the plugins in Adobe. So different KPIs for different organizations, all depending on what your specific organization wants to know or wants to develop, make better.
Yeah, I like that phrase. I wrote that down. I'm going to have to get T-shirts made. That analytics is a dam manager's best friend.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have T-shirts for the next Henry Stewart Festival of Dam. We can get those.
Yeah,
get those.
I'll have one.
That's great. Great way to think about it. I see you got some folks that want one. Yes, we'll figure out if there's a business model for that. But I think related to that is your question about kind of tools to show analytics, or maybe even more broadly, just sort of obviously there's so much data that could be generated in a system like this. Maybe if you could just talk a little bit kind of what's effective in terms of presenting those statistics and that data, whether it's something that you're integrating with other reporting tools so people understand how DAM fits in strategically with other ways of looking at a marketing or e-commerce operation.
Well, at the moment, no one expects me to report so much KPIs on the dam. Of course, I do when we have steering groups or something like that, but it's usually the amount of assets we have and how much storage space is used and how many users do we have and what pipelines are the assets coming from and going through, more on that sort of line. But if there is a possibility to build your dashboards, for instance, within the dam, that would help you have like a set of data, maybe what the I don't know, sponsors would want to know about the dam, the dashboard would help. But of course, as you said, there's so much data available that it could also be used in a more complex way within the organization if needed. But not too many people talk about the KPIs, I think, because probably goes back to the fact that asset management is a little bit difficult topic for many, and yeah, I don't really have a better answer for that.
Yeah.
Dashboard.
Well, yeah, all of this, I guess, is part of the work that you do to educate and motivate people. And you talked about training, and evangelizing, and I imagine a big part of that is helping people understand what they can find out from the dam, so that they can then make those asks for this type of report or these types of KPIs. So, but certainly, just seeing some of them.
Oh, sorry. So the dam that I'm managing now is many years old already. So it's basically, it's a part of our working ecosystem already. So it's not, it's like a working engine already. So that's why I think the KPIs might be more of interest in the beginning when you're implementing a new dam. So are you achieving the goals that you have set out to achieve when implementing a dam?
Mm-hmm. Terrific. Well, good. Well, I think we've come at the end of our hour. I know for some people like you, it's getting to the end of your day, and so we'll let you get back to karaoke and singing funny songs.
Thank you.
And for those who are just beginning your day, or those perhaps in parts of the world where you're ready to go to bed. But wanted to thank you very, very much for sharing your insights and your experiences with a digital asset management system. Obviously, at WoodWing, we really enjoy working with you and your team, and are grateful that you were willing to spend time and sharing your experiences and where you hope that this will go into the future. And as Jeanette had mentioned, the recording of this will be sent out to everyone who registered. And to the extent that anyone has any questions for either one of us, you can certainly send those questions either through info@woodwing.com. I just mentioned that. Or you can, I believe, just get back to Henry Stewart if you register through them, and they'll make sure that we get those questions or any additional feedback that you may have. But again, thank you so much for your time and your insights, and a really enjoyable conversation. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I know we certainly learned a great deal.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. It was an honor.
Terrific. Good. Well, enjoy the rest of everyone's day, and we look forward to speaking to you all again soon. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.